Hi everybody, Ian Bremmer here, and Davos, Switzerland. We just had President Trump deliver a speech, the most anticipated, greatest trepidation, most headline-making speech here at the forum this year. But what Trump had to say didn't matter all that much. He wasn't going to suddenly create trust among the European allies. They have, I think, hit the final straw on that issue. If I wanted to point to a couple things, there was lots of how the American economy is, of course, the best ever, and lots of growth and lots of investment. I think he said windmills caused low birth rates in Europe at one point. I wasn't sure exactly what that was about. If there's a big news-making item, it's that he said that the U.S. would not use force against Greenland. As I've been saying over the past weeks, there was never any possibility of the Americans using force on Greenland. It's always about using economic coercion as well as diplomatic sticks and carrots to buy, get, acquire something that he believes that America has to have. That is an utter red line for the Europeans, not just for the Danes, but pretty much across the board. And he called Greenland Iceland a couple times. But to be fair, it's covered with a lot of ice, at least for now, because those windmills aren't happening very quickly. Leave all of that aside. The point here is not Trump's speech. The speech that mattered was Mark Carney's speech, the Canadian Prime Minister, yesterday, where he put a public pin in what everyone has been saying quietly, but hasn't been willing to say publicly, which is there has been a rupture, an end to the U.S.-led global order, the G0 world, as we've been talking about for almost 15 years now. But it is no longer something you can ignore because America's closest allies around the world, including Canada, just above the country, that quiet apartment above the frat party that everybody kind of loves to hate, but at the same time, they telling the Americans, we can no longer trust. The Americans have changed their relationship, and so now we're in a different place. What does it mean when allies can no longer trust the U.S.? Well, of course, it means that there's going to be a vacuum. It means that around the world, you're not going to have the same level of leadership, and so in some places, bad actors will get away with more. There'll be more impunity. There'll be more conflict. There'll be more uncertainty. There'll also be more multilateralism. It's not just about Canada doing more with China. It's also about Southeast Asian countries doing more with the Europeans. It's about the EU-Mercosur deal that had been negotiated for 25 years, didn't get done until everyone realized they couldn't trust the Americans. And after all the unilateral tariffs, suddenly Mercosur EU gets done. Trump deserves credit for that deal and that multilateralism, at least as much as he's getting for the 8 wars he says that he's ended over the course of the last year, some of which real, some of which aren't. And there's also going to be a winner. And the winner, at least for now, is China, because if you're not doing as much with the United States, who's the other market at scale? That's China. Who's the other country that's doing world-class technology globally? That's China. Does that mean China becomes suddenly the dominant country globally? Not at all. They don't have that security capability. They don't have those technological capabilities today. But it does mean that the gap closes and that there's going to be more of an active choice, more of a hedge, and there is going to be a relative non-win-win, more of a zero-sumness. The World Economic Forum was supposed to be all about globalization creating win-wins, that if people that came here did really well, everyone else would do well. Well, first, you saw a lot of people in the United States that said, well, we don't think we did so well, even though all the people with money did well, because we were sent off to fight in wars that made no sense. We were sent off to leave our factories with manufacture, went to China and other low-cost places, and we didn't have jobs. The borders were open. Who was taking care of us when the new immigrants came in? But then you see Howard Lutnick, Secretary of Commerce from the United States, coming in and on a stage here at the World Economic Forum saying that actually globalization did not work for the United States as a whole. And he said that. He had temerity to say that on a stage with the CEO of the Bank of America. Bank of America? Would he say that globalization has not worked for the United States? No, of course he wouldn't. And the point is that with the United States, with the leadership of the U.S., not the CEOs, not the policy influencer community, not the media, but with the President of the United States and his cabinet saying globalization doesn't work for America, other countries around the world are going to shift their perspectives, because they have to, because they're still committed to globalization. They're still committed to free trade. They don't want to have tariffs shoot through the roof, destroying their own economies. And so as a consequence, we're going to see a lot more resilience over time, but the Americans won't be leading it. That's the main takeaway from the World Economic Forum this year. Trump was the instigator of that. His speech did not change it. Mark Carney's did. That's it for me. I'll talk to you all real soon.